Okay. Just had a little bit of flatulence from the dog.
Yeah, we covered that.
Oh, sorry. We smelt it as well, didn't we?
Yeah.
Sorry. Okay.
So where did we get up to? So yeah, people might argue against me, but as far as I'm concerned, or we're concerned rather, we are living in a patriarchal society. So some of those are the criteria for what constitutes a patriarchal society, and I think our society definitely meets that. So you know, our point of view and the point of the radical feminist is that we live under patriarchy, and that is the cause of sexism, not, you know, that inequality and prejudice exist by accident, okay, or that patriarchy isn't around anymore. So what we need to look at is why do we still have patriarchy, and I think to discuss that, what we need to look into is the history. Why do you keep going off camera? What is this elusive, like, oh, what are you, fucking Greta Garbo?
I want to be left alone.
Well, fuck off then. I'll do it all by
I
myself,
want to
shall
listen. No, I'm listening.
Right.
I'm listening. This is your.
We're not supposed to listen. We're supposed to be having a discussion
Well, we
here.
are. But I'm having a naughty. Okay. I'm having a naughty.
You smoke. I'm going to tell the whole world.
No,
Julia smokes.
Everything in moderation.
She's got a fag on. Look, so have I.
Right, everything in moderation. It's my first and last of the day. All right, go.
So, history of patriarchy. We need to look into the history of patriarchy if we want to try and explain why we still have patriarchy.
And I can I just say, these people that come on, like Jordan Peterson, and they.
Oh, why do you keep mentioning that man? Stop giving him time. He's so stupid.
No, I think that his agenda is to try to quell the toxic masculinity.
No, he isn't. He encourages it.
Well, I think he's trying to guide young men. That's what he says. Anyway, let's.
What, in an Andrew Tate kind of way?
Because
Elliot Rodger kind of way.
Well, I don't know.
What's he going to do? Like, yeah, guys, he's out to find an
For the
Uzi.
very reason, I think he knows patriarchy exists, and he's trying to.
He doesn't think there's
contain
anything wrong with it.
Exactly. He's.
Hey, I'm not here to discuss fucking Jordan Peterson.
Okay, carry on.
So what we're looking at is the history of patriarchy. So when did patriarchy start? Have we always had patriarchy? Now I'm going to be referring quite a lot to Angela Saini's book here because I've just read it.
Yeah, I'm listening to it now. It's very good, by the way. Can we tell them?
Well, I thought you'd already read it.
No, I don't have
talked
time
about
for books, Anne.
You the one, you were talking about Angela Saini in the first podcast.
I've listened to her podcast. I've read snippets of it. I'm actually now digesting it. She go on. You read it. So
Dangerous thing, a little bit of knowledge.
I know, terrible. So do you tell me then bits that you found about that, because she's come up with some really good points.
So Angela, I'm going to be referring a lot to Angela Saini's book, The Patriarchs, and the bottom line is that you know, I think that the common view is that patriarchy is inevitable and it's part of progress. So we only had progress since we had patriarchy. If misogynists can bring themselves to admit we've ever had one.
It's structural hierarchy.
Men believe, well, a lot of men believe that it's men's biology, or it's the biology or naturalism argument that it's sort of genetic. It's in their nature that men would be leaders over women because of their biology, because they are stronger than women. That is.
It's not. If you look at bonobos.
Oh, right. Let's not go. We don't even need to start on bonobos. Okay, leave the bonobo out of it for the time
come
being.
back to the bonobos.
We'll come back to the bonobo, but you know, the point is that if we're going to run on this argument that anything that is stronger than something else is going to dominate it or be dominant, then if that's the case, then blue whales would run the earth, wouldn't they? You know, the fact is Siberian tigers, elephants would, anything that's bigger than we are would ultimately be the primary species, wouldn't it? Well, but it's not. It's
going into Darwin.
I know that there are some people who seem to think that humans are apex predators, but you know, I think most zoologists would disagree.
You could say the climate thing is a metaphor for feminism, because we have controlled the earth, we've controlled the resources, and we've controlled women, and that because they've been a resource. Everything comes down to resources as well, I think. Well,
I mean, the thing is, did we start off with patriarchy? I think that's the question, and actually there's no definitive answer.
No.
What we've done, I mean, don't forget, it's very, very difficult to kind of log or document prehistory, because it was before documentation, it's before records. So, you know, we're looking at things like figurines and cave paintings and stuff, and what we're doing is we're interpreting those with a modern,
Angela Saini,
misogynistic eye. That's the problem, and we are assuming a lot of things based on with a misogynist slant. So, is it the Chattel Hayek woman, the seated woman of Chattel Hayek?
So the seated woman was the woman, you can see her very well, how would you describe
Well,
it?
she was. It's been interpreted when she was discovered that she was a symbol of fertility, but actually, what they found was she had rolls and rolls and rolls of fat. I think this woman was based on me, to be honest. Rolls of fat and quite saggy, and in fact, if anything,
Sorry.
she's probably, let's say, a more mature woman, right?
Yeah,
But she's in a seat. They lost her head. Her head went missing years ago. So they don't know what her face looked like. But according to Angela said, you didn't need her face. I thought, oh, you sexist woman. But she's sitting in a seat and she's got one hand on either side on the head of a big cat.
Yeah.
So she's got two big cats. I think they're leopards. I'm not quite sure.
Yeah.
And she's quite a heavy lady, shall we say. She's often a fuller figure and less elasticated figure. And yeah.
Could you say this was fetishised during the medieval era? Because if you look at the Renaissance,
Well, no, just looking at the model
Rubenesque,
itself.
the
But
Rubenesque.
apparently they had a lot in Chattel Height, which is is it northern Anatolia or is it southern Anatolia in Turkey? They found a lot of these style of figurines, but for some reason the seated woman of Chattel Height has been a figure of fascination for decades. And James Mellart, who was an male archaeologist, I might add, in the 1960s, he was overjoyed because he thought this showed that there were matriarchal societies. He went further and thought it wasn't just a symbol of fertility. In fact, she didn't look like a particularly fertile woman, but had probably been fertile, like most women usually are, in her time.
But she was a mature lady.
But she was a mature lady. But the whole point, the posture of her, the fact that she had two hands and they were on either side and they were on these big cats, almost showed it showed her in a position of power or authority, or even dominance.
Yeah.
And he took this to mean that this was a matriarchal society. The people of Chattel Height lived in a matriarchal society. And I'm not quite sure of the time. Is this about 3500 BCE? If I'm going to be, I say BC and AD.
Well,
by
it's
the way.
actually it's in the.
I'm not Christian either.
It's in the time of when we transitioned from hunter-gatherer to agriculture, and that's when
I think it's post-Neolithic, isn't it? But anyway, it's kind of pre-Roman Empire, put it that way. It's before the Roman Empire. It's before the mass migration which went into the Dark Ages across Europe. And it's known as the first city, Chattel Height, by archaeologists in well, certainly in Europe. I think, I don't know about the rest of the world. But what they thought this showed was that matriarchal societies existed. They thought that this city, which was found under a mound, wasn't it, in Anatolia, it wasn't a primitive society. There was a lot of art. There was signs that there was trade, that there were traders. It had an economy. I think they found currency, didn't they?
Yeah.
A lot like the remains, I'd say, of somewhere like Pompeii, I suppose.
Yes.
And so, yeah, it didn't show that this society was particularly backwards in any way, but just that it was different.
Yes.
And I think that's what Angela Saini argues in her book, is that the trouble is people seem to think of our time as being that everybody changed and progressed at the same time, at the same rate, or they were forced into progress around the same time and at the same rate, particularly amongst white and Western civilizations, or even European civilizations, shall we say. Or, you know, the idea is that we may well, I mean, misogynists would argue we may well have been matriarchal or even equal, but suddenly these patriarchal societies or tribes came in, waged war and defeated women. And
Missionaries as well. The gentle way was to have
this goes
missionaries.
pre-missionary, though. This is pre-missionary. And they're talking particularly about the Kurgan culture she refers to. So the Kurgans, forget Highlander for 2 minutes, please. Clancy Brown was damn fit in that film, though. But the Kurgans...
There is only one.
There is only one.
Oh.
Only one Clancy. But yeah, the Kurgans came from the steppes of central Russia, and they were supposed to have migrated west into Europe and taken over and...
When Angela was saying
peaceful societies.
You started seeing, isn't that the 1 in 200 people descend from Genghis Khan? Or
Yes.
Things like this.
Well, this again predates Mongols, I think, even the Mongolians.
There was, and then, you started getting a shift in paternal...
Well, what they seemed to think was these were patriarchal societies where war and fighting and battles were revered more than anything else. Because, and I cannot pronounce the name for the life of me, she's Lithuanian, it was Gimbutas. I think she kind of pioneered this theory that it was the Kurgans from the east came over to the west and essentially defeated these matriarchal societies. And it was like these warrior men coming over, destroying all these cities and villages and tribes and making them patriarchies and taking them over. Now, what Angela Saini has said, and dozens of other archaeologists, and historians who studied this, men and women I would add, say there's nothing really, there's no evidence of that. And this is the biggest problem with archaeology and history.
It's interpretation.
You're talking pre-document, pre-record keeping, so
keeping,
it's impossible to actually prove there was a matriarchy or that there was a patriarchy. We can only guess.
No, I know, it's conjecture.
It's a bit like carbon dating, it's just all a farce, really. Oh, been around for 16 million. Oh no, it's 8.
How long? Yeah, how long is a piece of string?
How long is a piece of string? Yeah, it's guesswork essentially. And who has been at the forefront of all of this? Who have been the writers? Who've been the historians? Who've been the archaeologists? Until quite recently, it's been men.
Yeah.
And also that religion has played a massive part in this. Lola, I'm a bit worried about
right. So we can't say, basically.
So we can't say whether that really happened or not. And also, it doesn't take into account that they have found. Much like they have with Vikings, they found in this Kurgan culture, and also with the Mongols, because obviously Mongols go much later, when they swept through under Genghis Khan and took over. They wiped out the Khazars, for instance, in Russia.
Oh, they were barbaric.
They were. I think Genghis is given a bit of shit in history, to be honest.
Oh yeah.
I think he was a man of peace, really.
Oh right. Okay. Yeah. Oh
Yeah.
yes, he did.
But there were female warriors.
Submit, and then you'll as long as you.
But they have found graves of female warriors, and initially female Viking warriors, and Scythians, and so Amazons were actually. Although Amazons were myths, were a myth, they were in fact based on real life tribes where there were very aggressive warrior-like women, and I think it was the Scythians. Is it Samaran or Sarmatians?
I don't know, but I'm thinking of
Sarmatians, I think they were called, and Hittite women as well, Vikings as well, and so there would have been some tribes, if I want a better word, who would have been patriarchal, where women would have stayed at home, and there were also a vast number where women were warriors as well. Now, did that make it matriarchal? Possibly not. It could have still been patriarchal, but what we actually need to look at is, what do we consider to have been patriarchal? I mean, like, you talk about bonobos, right, and you talk about chimps, and we considered for a long time that, say, lion prides were patriarchal because of the existence of 1 or 2 males being the alpha males, and therefore it was patriarchal and they were the leaders. But that's a massive assumption. And to be honest, there are particularly female zoologists and people who study these primates who would say that, yes, there may be the existence of 1 or 2 males who may dominate the other males and may dominate more beta females, but actually there are larger groups of alpha females within those groups who actually control the rest of the group and choose the male leaders and decide whether the male alphas are going to be the alphas or stay the alphas, can often drive out alpha males and decide who they're going to be. And be incredibly aggressive, highly aggressive, also do the hunting. I mean, that's certainly the case in lion prides. Females do the hunting. Females have been known to kill alpha males. They've been known to kill other males who want to rival their own alpha males to join the group. And they've not accepted them, even though they've defeated the alpha male. They've also killed beta females. They kill their young. This whole idea of women being the submissive beta nurturers and alpha males is not necessarily true. And just because there is a presence of one does not mean that it is the leader. This is the trouble. We live under this, we get so used to this kind of cult of personality. We had it with Hitler, we had it with Stalin, Lenin, we had it with Mussolini. We had it, we have it in our country with the Prime Minister. America has it with the President. Leadership. We had it with the monarchy. We think about sort of monotocracy almost. It's like we have one leader and everybody else is subservient, when in fact, as you know, in history, even with a king, he's governed by his advisors. And if the king, if the monarch, if the leader is not doing as it's told by its advisors, it is quickly removed or dispatched. So whilst you may have one person in a political position as leader, it does not necessarily mean they have any power. And that's what I'm talking about in terms of what is a matriarchal society. And I had this argument with somebody on Facebook the other day, because there are still matriarchal societies that exist today, and that's, I think, the greatest evidence of the fact that matriarchal societies did used to exist. So the Nayars, I don't know if I'm pronouncing this right, and I apologise if I'm not, but the Nayars of Kerala were a matriarchal society, were generally driven out by imperialist colonialists, and they were matriarchal, and the definition, the way Angela Saini or historians have decided they were matriarchal, is because women could own property, and women took part in decision-making processes. In fact, they had the ultimate say on decision-making processes. And there are, now, I don't think the Nairs exist anymore, but there are the Qazis of Meghalaya. I think it's Meghalaya.
I want to talk about something
Anyway,
after this, because it's making me think about tribes. I feel we're talking about tribalism, and then culture comes in, because
well, the Qazis of Meghalaya still exist now. They live in Taravads, and they, again, I apologise for my pronunciation. They live in Taravads, where it's and I hate to say this for want of a better word, but women own their children. I mean, I have to say children are not chattels, but the children are matrilineals, and it's all matrilocal. So the husbands actually live with their own families. They live with their mother's families. They don't live with their wife's family. The children live with the wife, and she lives with her mother. And there is a series of elders, women elders there, and they are the leaders.
And isn't it, she says about the men look after, there's men who look after their nieces and nephews.
Yes, they do. And
there's
in fact, uncles
figures.
Do much more caregiving for the woman's child. So her brother will actually take care of the children. So it gives a new meaning to the dirty uncle. So the uncles will look after her children more than her husband will. And similarly, the father will look after his sister's children. Sounds very confusing, I know. More than he would his own children. But yeah, the women
where
own
you
property.
get matrilineal, you do get more caregiving from men.
Yeah, you do. And you find the women will go out and work the land. Women own property. Women can bequeath their property to whomever they like, and it's usually to women. And they take the woman's name.
Oh yes, all this taking of the name stuff, it's so picked.
Now, would we say it's a primitive existence? Possibly. I don't know, is it better for the environment? Certainly.
Absolutely,
But ultimately, these people have survived. They're still here. They're around in this day and age. Are they, in terms of Western developed world, are they monetarily rich? No. But they don't seem to want, you don't see levels of poverty. There's very, very low levels of domestic violence. There's no starvation. They've even managed to survive imperialism. Although there is huge pressure on them now to go towards patriarchy, because obviously the men have been exposed to Western social society and culture, and it's very appealing to them. Of course, it would be. And so there's a huge pressure now on the Qazis to lose their matriarchal traditions, although there are also a lot of men there who want to keep their traditions, and they like having a matriarchy. And the point is with the matriarchal societies is they do actually give men political positions.
Of course,
there is a great deal of equality. Actually, much more than you see under historical patriarchal societies.
Arguably more peace, better peace. I want to read about the Moriari, because this is.
But I don't think there's actually any evidence of a matriarchal society where men have been oppressed. Have been kept down. Excuse me, have been kept down, been disenfranchised.
There are. Can I say there are? There was a tribe, and they're called the Moriori, and they were from the Polynesian. Moriori, indigenous Polynesian people of the islands of New Zealand. Now they were wiped out by the Maori, who came in and slaughtered them. And the Moriori, they had a code of pacifism. So they were very peaceful, although we don't know what the men were like. Allegedly, though, they were very peaceful people, and there were men, women. I'd love to know more about this tribe. If anyone's got anything they know about this tribe, but apparently they didn't fight. They stuck to their belief of pacifism, and I would love anthropologists, anyone who knows about this. But I think we could learn a lot. Where did the peace come from? How were these tribes where we don't talk about the matriarch and patriarch? We just talk about them as tribes. These peaceful tribes, were there strong women in these tribes keeping the peace?
Well,
because do you know what happened with Moriari? It's horrendous. It's a disgusting piece of history. They had genocide. They were wiped out, basically. The Maori went over. I don't even want to talk about. You can Google it. They're called the Moriori. They were wiped out. This was quite recent. This was in the 19th century. It's disgusting what happened to them. But what I want to understand is behind these peaceful tribes, which we know have existed throughout history, were the women there as well keeping the peace? What made them pacifist?
I think
what
you need
brought
to be
that pacifism?
I think you need to be very careful about immediately assigning pacifism with the feminine. That's a misogynist, patriarchal notion.
No, it is. I'm saying that. What was it though? What led to them being?
No, but I
peaceful
think Angela Saini would say that there are different people in the world. We are different.
We are, yeah.
And nothing started off in one way and just deviated in different directions and then has gone back to patriarchal, naturally this, that, and the other.
No, but we have
there have been, yeah, but I apologise for my pronunciation. I think they're called the Haudenosaunee,
Right.
or Haudenosaunee. We know them as Iroquois. And I think Elizabeth Cady Stanton, and there was another one whose name escapes me, who was one of the feminists who helped bring the vote to women in America, in the United States. And they almost studied the Haudenosaunee women because it was a matriarchal society there. And I think they were just as warrior-like.
Yeah, yeah.
I may be wrong on that, but certainly there has been evidence that indigenous peoples in North America and possibly South America too, where women used to fight.
Yeah.
Women were warriors. As I say, in ancient Greece, before it really became patriarchal. I mean, you know, this is sort of the founding of Greek myths and things like that. Women were wrestlers. Women were warriors. We mentioned this.
Spartan women would leave their
Celtic
babies
women.
out. Just
Celtic women, Viking
Olympus.
women were renowned for being quite bloodthirsty.
Yes.
Warriors.
But this is where they.
So I wouldn't necessarily say that women bring pacifism,
No.
and I don't agree with that.
No.
And I think that the pacifism of women, like that man I was arguing with the other day, women are kind, caring, and compassionate.
It's a misogynist.
It's a misogynist argument. It's making people one-dimensional. It's also misogynistic towards men.
It's labelling. Yes.
It's misandrist, actually. It's saying, "Oh, men are all men are the troublemakers. Men are the."
And it's actually what causes pick-me's, because I think the pick-me's think, "Oh, I need to pander to the man."
They do. But also, it forces men who are not naturally aggressive. It makes them feel unnatural.
Actually, yes,
and
you're right.
It discriminates against men.
Actually, you're right. It does, because there's lots of men out there who aren't aggressive.
Well, look at Prince Philip. He said to the Queen,
Yeah.
with his two children, with Prince Charles and Princess Anne, and he said, "The trouble with us is our boy is a girl and our girl is a boy."
Yeah. Oh, really? Yeah. You see?
He always preferred Anne.
Yeah. Oh no, I know. Yeah, oh, Anne was.
Because she liked to get on the
But
back of a horse.
They
and she
do
was quite
say for women,
tomboyish.
but they do
Whereas
say
Charles loved his poetry and
that
art.
the psychologists do say that if a woman has a brother, she's more likely to be a bit more bolshy and stand up to men.
Girls can be extremely protective, and men again will only acknowledge. I say men, I mean misogynist, will only acknowledge women's aggression in terms of protecting their young as though it's something abnormal. It's a streak of adrenaline. It's it's a deviation from the female norm, but it's not true. I don't have children. I'm extremely aggressive. You want to see aggression? You want to come and see the women in our office blocks when someone goes and parks in their parking space. God, there's no territoriality in women. Is just look at a supermarket. It's our hunting grounds. Nothing more aggressive than women trying to both get to the potatoes at the same time. Men are all right, mate. It's all right, mate. You go first, mate. We're
You
like,
only
get
have
out
to
of
go
the
into
way.
the reduced section of Co-op, for goodness sake.
The elbows all
at
come
8
out.
o'clock in the evening to see the human competition.
Women are not passive.
No, we're not.
We're not
and
passive.
I think we have to
we feel
learn
we have to pretend to be passive to appease the misogynist because they might feel a little bit scared if we're, not little
and women
wimps.
are as much protective over their resources than men. Otherwise, we wouldn't have.
Well,
something
all
as such
aggression
as
really is
property.
not random. Nobody's randomly aggressive unless there's something actually really wrong with you, or you've got something like psychosis. Nobody is just randomly aggressive. Everybody reacts to a perceived threat.
Yeah.
And considering women are supposed to be the weaker sex, and we're not as physically strong, obviously we're going to feel threatened.
But I think when it comes to, I think we're going down a complicated topic here. I really do.
Well, what I'm saying is,
I don't know where to start with it.
What Angela Saini was saying with the Khazis in Meghalaya was, and also the Haudenosaunee women, is that men may be physically stronger, but that's the whole reason why we stick to 1 to 2 alpha males in a group. And I'm sorry, but I do agree with misogynists that you can have alpha males and beta males, and you can have alpha females and beta females.
Yes.
I do think that exists.
I
know misogynists like to cling to this, and for some reason they call betas alphas and alphas betas.
Yes.
They seem to role reverse the alphas and the betas.
It's a paradox.
They like to make it, because they're all betas, they like to pretend they're really alphas, and they're not. But, an alpha male isn't necessarily like Hulk Hogan. He's not that. That's not what I mean by alpha male.
Because we're an intelligent species, we can adapt, and we are very good. Our imagination's there. We can learn. Even though it might not come naturally to us, we can learn. That's the whole liberal argument.
No, but what I'm saying is that the way, just being strong, it's like I'm saying, a chimp is stronger than a man, a lion is stronger than a man, a wolf is stronger than a man. Yeah, there are lots of animals out there that are stronger than we are, that are stronger
Yes.
than the strongest man.
Oh, physical
But
strength means nothing
physical strength
in
does
this
not
respect.
make you
No.
the primary species.
It's
And the
a
point is,
resource.
whilst men may be stronger than women, it does not mean that men are dominant over women. And that's the thing. Women, matriarchal societies, you find that there are a large number of women. And there's no
sometimes I
one
find it-
leader. There tends to be a group of alpha females running the show. And this is what you actually find in most mammalian species, is a large number of alpha females. You also have a group of beta females. You have one or two alpha males.
You have alpha.
And you
there is an
have
alpha.
like some beta males,
Yeah.
I think.
And they come in, they pacify.
I would assume they're the
I mean,
young.
bonobos use sex as a form of social cohesion and cooperation. They're very cooperative. The way they work is very cooperatively, but they are alpha. The females are the
But I think they are
the
in
leaders.
chimps. I told you, Alison Cronin actually made a comment about this when she said, you know, the accepted norm is that chimps are patriarchal and that the males are the alphas and they're the leaders, but they're not really, because, and obviously she's got her own sanctuary, rescue centre of chimps, and albeit, yeah, they are abused animals. This is down in Dorset. And it's open to the public, anybody can go and see it. But there are, I mean, there's this beta female had a baby, and the alpha females all immediately went in and just took her baby. They didn't do anything to it, but they were doing it to distress her and upset her, to show her that they're in control. And she went to the alpha male, and he wouldn't do anything. He won't get involved in their arguments.
Right.
Yet the alpha females will get involved in the males' arguments.
So it's a common day
And in
Cinderella.
fact, the alpha females.
Common day Cinderella.
Well, yeah, what they did was they hived off these alpha males of these different groups to see who would actually be the ultimate leader, because I think they were going to amalgamate the groups. And they decided it was like chimp A who was going to be the alpha, and it was all very nice and diplomatic, like it usually is with men when they're on their own together. In fact, it's actually the all-male group they've got, the bachelor group they call them, and the ones that get on the best.
Yeah.
And they're the
Oh
calmest.
no, that's it. They said they.
And they get on the calmest. It just goes to show women make everything aggressive. But yeah, when they actually put this
Don't
males.
be such a misogynist.
No, they are aggressive. Women are aggressive, and I don't see anything wrong in admitting that. And in fact, if men believed women were more aggressive, which they go on about that they are, if they actually believe that, I don't think they would be so quick to abuse us.
But we get silenced.
But the reason why they abuse us is because they think we're not going to be aggressive.
When we do become emotional.
Can I just finish what I'm saying though about the chimps? Because they put these chimps in the groups with the females, and the females immediately went in, attacked the male the men had chosen to be leader, and made another one leader. And in fact, when one of the males died, and was killed by a younger male who was thick as bricks, totally thick, very young, not at all experienced. You know, was probably everything we would say is the antithesis of a good leader. They picked him because he was the biggest.
Yeah.
Because if you're going purely on looks,
Well,
not humour, not wallet, not age, older is not better.
Look, so
They wanted young sperm.
They were being shallow.
They were being shallow. Women are shallow. Women can be just as shallow as men.
Yeah, and that's what.
But that's what they've had. But you know, you apply that to our society, where you know men might have to go down the gym, men might have to go and get plastic surgery, men might have to feel worried about what they're wearing in case their asses look a bit fat.
Yes.
You know, men would hate that. Men wouldn't be able to cope with it.
No.
Of course they don't want that. So we've created. You can see that we live under a patriarchy, and you can see, you know, in our society, in our culture in particular, the way everything, you know, because there's not a huge amount you can do about your looks. Let's face it, if you're born ugly, you're born ugly. There's not a lot you're going to be able to do about it, even with plastic surgery. You're just going to look weird and ugly.
Look like a doll.
Yeah. But what we do is we sit and say, oh, aging is just a thing that happens to women, or, you know, men can let their hair go great. No, you bloody can't. Get some frigging British 2000 on that.
Older women get a real hard rap, and we're going to talk about this because, you know...
But we seem to think that men have got fertility all their lives. I'm sorry, men's fertility starts to diminish at the age of 25.
Well,
I know this. I've been through all the bloody fertility crap. You know, most sperm banks won't take sperm from men over the age of 30.
No, exactly.
Because it starts to deteriorate so quickly because sperm is so fragile.
Well, it is. Yeah.
So, you know, it's... But again, facts are rewritten.
Yeah.
Men put forward a view that suits them, that gives them things in their favour, and they treat it as fact. Men always talk from a position of fact. It's never... They never begin a sentence with, I think you're wrong on this because blah, blah, blah. It's, you're wrong.
Yeah.
You're wrong.
It's
You're
enti-
stupid.
it's
That's stupid. It's always coming at everything from I'm the norm, I'm the consensus.
Yes.
I'm the judge, I'm the jury, and what I say goes.
Yes.
I've had an argument with somebody. I confronted somebody over something a number of weeks ago, accusing somebody of something quite serious. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail here. And somebody else was standing next to this guy. And he immediately took the role of judge. Well, I'm not really convinced by your arguments. And I said, I don't fucking care.
No, no.
You think I give a shit about you? The
Yeah.
only judge here is me.
Yeah.
It's what I think in this given situation. I'm not
Yes.
here to convince you.
No. So they take on the role.
I
of
will walk into a
authority.
courtroom, a judge has authority. And granted, male or female, they have authority. A jury, unfortunately, has authority. You have to respect that.
Yeah.
You know, but I don't care. I'm not there to convince. The men always assume you're there to persuade them and
Yes.
convince them. Sod off.
Yes.
Open up your mind, listen to what I'm saying.
Exactly.
If you don't want to agree with me, that's fine.
Yeah.
But do it with an open mind.
Yeah,
Don't sit there and assume I'm in the wrong because your mate happens to have a dick.
Well, it's dick waving.
It's
Isn't it?
true.
It's dick waving. But this is what we're up against. You know, entitlement.
It is.
It's entitlement.
It's assumption, a lot of assumption, and it's been written into almost like a social code, which has almost become a law. You know, men have got to be believed, women have got to be blamed. It's always the same, and it's always our starting position. It's not a level playing field,
No.
and that's why when people say get it into court, when we talk about Article 6, right to a fair trial, you know, what we're basically saying is give him the benefit of the doubt. You've got to prove your case against him, and he can say and do whatever he likes during proceedings, because if you don't let him bring in whatever stupid piece of evidence he wants to bring, I mean, some defences I have read about in court are absolutely ridiculous in the name of a fair trial, then that's fine, and he can say whatever he likes about the victim.
What is fairness? This is the thing. What is fairness?
You're not allowed to bring in previous, I mean, like Rolf Harris's trial, they couldn't bring in evidence that they found child pornography on his computer, because that was similar fact evidence, and they thought it would, you know, prejudice the jury against him. Why not? Why can we not start categorising these men?
Profiling.
Profiling, this is exactly what I want to talk about today, causes of
this is
sexism. Why are we always putting the focus on the woman, what she has done, what she has said, how she reacted? Why don't we start looking at the man? How many times has he been accused? Is he somebody who likes to sit there looking at hardcore pornography? Is he somebody who's got a list of accusations in the past that have never gone anywhere?
Yeah.
Now, look at the sort of women he goes out with. Is he the sort, you know, who seems to go for prepubescent looking little girls and all this? You know, we need to start looking at this.
Well, this is
Because
what,
you do find, and I have found this in my
feminist
job.
argument.
I have found this in my job, where you see levels of domestic violence. You do find a prevalence of, you know, wives finding things like child pornography on their computers.
See,
You do
this is
tend to
out
find
of
a
my
prevalence
range.
of violence.
When you start talking about
They
this,
all, these are not different people. They all seem to be born of the same thing. And what you notice in all of them is the sexism.
my instinct is that it sits in the male psyche. It does sit in the
Yeah,
male
but that's
psyche.
what your argument is. And
My
I think
intuition tells me.
you seem to think it's a genetic thing for men to.
Have paraphilias or
But
more
I don't.
paraphilias.
I don't, to be honest. And I think.
I think it's epigenetic. I think it's a mixture. I think it allows it. I think it's the combination of the culture and